Welcome to the Roundtable Sessions, where we take a general topic and have a good general conversation. Oftentimes we're unfiltered and unscripted. We appreciate you tuning in, and we hope you enjoy.
What's up, freaks, geeks, gals, and ghouls, and welcome to another roundtable discussion of Corpses for Conversation. I am your host, Toxic J, but you can call me Joker, and as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
Along with Richard Zom.
What's going on, everybody? It's time to pay the check.
Time to pay the check.
Along with Dimeback the Clown.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
And I never will. SoCal Leatherface.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
And returning, I would like to everyone welcome back Deadly Poison or Poison.
If you gotta go, go with a smile.
If you gotta go, go with a smile.
In preparation for The Flash 2023, we are talking about a cult classic, whatever you want to call it. The movie is Batman 1989.
What was his quote? Just for the record, he got his quote wrong too. But we're not going to re-record it.
I say you can call me Joker, and as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
As you can see, I'm a whole lot happier.
No.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No. I got this quote, and yeah. So
maybe he does say I'm a lot happier. All right.
Oh my God, just
just go.
Yeah, see how I'm saying splitting hairs for no damn reason. Sometimes it sounds blowing off the tongue organically.
I hate you. I really do. Anyways, back to the discussion. Going around the table, discussing it with everybody. Overall, how does everyone feel? What does this movie mean to you? When and where and what time period did you actually discover this film? I'm going to start with you, Richard Zom.
For myself, I mean, it meant a lot for me because, I grew up a comic book guy. I got into comics really early, and this was the first technical iteration of my generation of having a really cool, prolific comic book character see the whole, it's going to be in cinema. It had a up and coming director and producer, but mainly he was directing. But Tim Burton threw out amazing art and stood true to the storyline and made it really macabre and dark. He didn't want to give us some campy version of a comic book character. He wanted to be I want to show the real life from how it goes from comic, and I want to put it on film. And my mind was blown between the cinematography, the look, the actors they chose for it. It was great. Personally, my favorite part at the end where you see him standing on the pillar and you see the bat signal, that was the coolest freaking scene I've ever saw in cinema up to this point. When I was a kid, I was I was just entranced in it.
You loved all of that at the age of 6. You're the cinematography was really good. Oh,
yes. Well, I
film lover at heart. Film lover at heart. I'm just yanking your chains on.
Yeah, but I'm saying I grew up watching the best era of animation: Transformers Generation 1, Thundercats, Voltron. It was the best. How you always say, we were born in the wrong era. We have an appreciation for 80s and early 90s, even though we're on there. It's I wish that was still alive now than not all this social media stuff.
And not only that, this marks the end of a decade, which was the 80s. It also but it started a new era. And yes, we had Superman in the late 70s, but I think Batman really started to put comic book movies on the map going forward. And I think it helped the pillar going forward, which we have Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DCU, no matter how crappy that universe is right now. But I think Batman 89 started that trend, even though when nobody wanted it.
Yeah, it was definitely a pillar for all that. Like, I was never a comic book guy growing up. So, I mean, I was 16 years old when this movie first came out.
I thought you were like 24.
That's a perfect age. You could have went to the theater.
16. I mean, I was more of a horror comic guy. So, as far as Batman was one of my favorite characters growing up, but I never collected the comics. My earliest childhood memory of being subjected to Batman was the Batman Adam West, the TV series. It's 1964. And but when I first saw this on the big screen, I was like, you know what? This is a pillar. This is gonna cause a whole shitstorm of all these movies being released.
All right, man, you called it before anyone else. You knew that this was going to be a success.
When I first saw this movie, I knew it was going to open doors for other characters being greenlit to make comic book movies. You know, now you have Marvel, like you say, Marvel, DC. They always all look up to what Batman did, what Tim Burton did with Batman.
Very true. Very true.
So before I ask you, SoCal, and before I give my thoughts, let's actually ask our special guest, what does she think and what does the film mean to her growing up?
All right. So when I first saw this, I don't really know how old I was. I obviously didn't see it in the screens because I wasn't as old as Dimeback. But I remember seeing it. We owned the VHS of it. I remember it was one of the few movies that I was allowed to watch in our house. My mom didn't let us watch a lot of graphic things, horror things, too much shoot 'em up. But she liked Batman because she had younger brothers. They collected comic books, so she was familiar with it. So that was one thing that she did let me watch. And I remember it'd be like rainy days and we'd pop Batman in. And, you know, I remember watching it all the time and just thinking like, wow, that's so cool, you know. I made sure that we did that with our daughter, that we showed it to her, that she, you know, she doesn't read the comic books yet. I'm sure she will at one point. Toxic has gotten her into reading some comic books and stuff like that. But we took her when she was like 3 to go see it in the movie theaters. And it was great. I mean, she had already seen it enough here at home. So when she got to see it on the big screen, that was really cool, going together to take our daughter to go see it. Just a movie that I love, and I can watch whenever. I don't have to pay attention. It can be on for background noise. I love Tim Burton, obviously, and that's, that just is an added bonus. But yeah, I really enjoy the movie, and I don't know of a time I've never not watched it.
SoCal?
Batman 89. See, I find myself in a position that I'm not usually used to being in for the past decade, but I'm the youngest one here. So back in 89.
Thanks for pointing that out. Somebody mute him.
So back in 89, I was just 2 years old. And obviously I never went to the theaters to see this.
My parents went to go take me in diapers, but I still, no, just kidding.
I might have
you
been
were the
there.
screaming ass
I just
kid
don't
in the back.
remember. I like Batman. But I used to watch the Adam West Batman all the time on, TV with my grandfather. My grandfather was the one that really loved watching the superhero-based shows. I remember seeing like some classic Spider-Man and maybe even like a classic type of Superman that was on TV. And he, of course, got me introduced to Adam West Batman. So being a kid, playing around, doing the whole Batman fight sequences at home, that was great. So when this film came out to release on VHS back in late 89, I had gotten it for Christmas that year. And obviously that tape got a lot of plays on it. I don't know if you remember back with VHS, is like when you were playing it for the first time, if you ever paused it, there would be like a permanent little mess up on the film every time you rewatched it. That's why I kept recording over, and I always had the porn in the background.
Out.
Yes, that was one of the few films that I did not have any sort of little mess up on because I let this whole movie play through. I watched it a ton of times as a kid. Batman actually came to my birthday party that year.
What? Damn. He was fighting crime and had a time to go to a kid's party. Man,
it might have been Michael
one
Keaton.
drunk
I don't know.
Get dressed up for you, huh?
It might have been Michael Keaton. I don't know. The suit looked legit.
Must have been nice to come from money.
See, it just shows you that cosplay has been around. Even back in '89, people were still rocking some really great, high quality cosplay to go to kids' birthday parties, and that's so Batman. It's always a fond memory for me looking back as a child. Like I said, it brought me and my grandfather together, and he was never one too keen to go to theaters. He's still not. So he never took me to go see it in theaters, but we watched it a lot on the old fatback TV,
Sorry, no, just the fatback.
I forgot what they were. I forgot what they were called.
The tube TVs.
Tube TV.
No, I've never heard that. I never heard that expression. I was like, fatback. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people call it like when they talk about like computers, and they say, "Oh, you have like the old like fatback monitors or whatever, like the big fat monitors." Anyway, go ahead.
For people that don't know me on a personal level, obviously all you ladies and gentlemen do, I was 6 when this came out. The hype behind it was real for me because my dad got me into 3 things. He got me into pro wrestling, got me into comic books, and he got me into horror movies. So
permanently ruined them.
But I kind of took that to the next level. Now he doesn't read or watch any of that stuff anymore. I'll probably get to that point sometime in my life. Anyways,
no expensive comic book collection to pass down to you one day. No inheritance on that.
Oh,
they don't make it like they used to.
He sold it for booze money, but
hence why TJ wears spandex to this day everywhere he goes.
Exactly. So.
I had the first appearance of Batman in Action Comics, and I sold it for a 6-pack.
Yeah, that sounds like my old man. But anyways, the landscape of comic books, even before this movie was ever filmed, was changing. Now, yes, before in the 70s on down, it was more of a campy type Batman. But thanks to Frank Miller, who written and then released The Dark Knight Returns, one of those titles, my dad bought it. He read it to me.
Storyline.
I'm not what?
Incredible storyline.
Oh, it's a bedtime story.
I thought you said you're lying.
I'm agreeing with you. When Frank Miller came aboard, like you said, Toxic, the storyline on that comic arc was phenomenal.
So even at a young age, I already had this envision that Batman was much darker than what we've seen beforehand. I did enjoy the Adam West, but even at that age, I thought it was too campy. And I remember, and this is way back before the internet.
Even at age 6, you thought Adam West was campy?
Yeah, I did. But
I miss his iconic "Bye, chum."
Oh yeah, I still enjoyed it for what it was.
Holy cow, Batman!
Same bat time, same bat channel. I remember my dad comes in, and this is before the internet ever existed. He walks into the room, and he literally goes, "Oh, pardon my French." Yeah, I asked him what. He said they're making a live action Batman movie. I'm like, okay, but he goes, it's going to be dark. I'm like, oh. And this was my first introduction to Michael Keaton. So I actually saw Batman first before I saw Beetlejuice. So me personally, I did not have a problem with the casting. I just wanted to see a dark, gritty Batman. Obviously, everybody else wanted to, and it started the whole Bat fanatics and Bat craze of 1989.
You remember that old saying, flying like a bat out of, well, you know the saying. Well, that's the way people are flocking to retail outlets to get their share of Batmania. Retailers think it's wonderful, and they've pulled out all the Bat stops. Bat shoes, Bat towels, Bat shirts, Bat mugs, and none of the Bat goods are hanging around.
Well, like the Joker t-shirt, I wish I had one here to show you, but obviously we've had a couple of orders of those come in. They're gone. The hats are gone. I mean, it's just certain items that just continue to go.
Well, when casting Batman, which Michael Keaton, he was trending before trending was even a thing. The first reaction people would say is either not so much Beetlejuice, I don't want Mr. Mom playing Batman. They were writing angry letters, boycotting the movie, all this, just like, I don't want him. He's not, they wanted Bill Murray at one point. I could not see him as Batman.
And Eddie Murphy is Robin, supposedly.
Yeah, I heard too.
Wow.
Wow. I don't even know how that was going to work out. But so, yeah, like.
This one has definitely got an R rating.
He got mad hate for it.
Oh, yeah.
And I can go on and on just about the casting itself. The moment they revealed the first promo picture of him in the full-on bat suit, everybody shut up.
They all jumped on board for that one, huh?
And everybody jumped. Yeah, exactly. Everybody jumped on board, and they're like, "Okay, we can work with this."
Now, were people expecting to see like the gray suit with the blue tights? Were they expecting that, or when they first saw the black with the gold symbol on the chest?
You know what? I think they did. And then when they first revealed the full bat suit, they're like, "Whoa, this is not what we envisioned."
Yeah.
I mean, they do that for every Batman film. They kind of rebrand him and give him a whole new outfit, a whole new Batmobile. So I can only imagine what they were thinking when they first were revealed to like this Batman and this Batmobile.
What I like about this film, or even Michael Keaton casted as Batman, is the fact that underneath it, he looks totally normal. I mean, you see the body armor on his suit. It's got like a 12-pack, but he looks average looking.
Yeah, one of the original ideas was also to cast Ray Liotta as Batman, but
I
he
heard
turned
that
it down.
too, actually.
He wasn't interested in it. They even tried getting back at him, saying, "Do you want to be Harvey Dent? Do you want to be the Joker?" And he turned down them all.
Oh, I can see him as a Joker. Oh, great Joker, especially given it the gangster aspect of the movie. Ray Liotta coming in. Goodfellas came around the same time, didn't it? Late 80s.
I think Ray Liotta would have been more fitted if they would have went down the series with different villains in another Batman movie. I think Ray Liotta would have been a better fit for Black Mask.
Oh,
That's
that
true.
would,
I can see that.
yeah.
But none of that actually came to fruition,
unfortunately.
And well, I don't know. It really depends on how you look at it, I guess. But we got Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Now, growing up, I was just like, I just wanted a dark Batman movie. I didn't give a shit who was playing what now, and I don't care. I just wanted to see Batman.
I just wanted the Joker to say, "You can't handle the truth."
I mean, I don't know. How does everyone feel? Poison, how do you feel about Jack Nicholson's portrayal as the Joker?
He's honestly my favorite Joker. There's nobody else that will be the Joker. Heath Ledger was good, but Jack Nicholson's who I grew up with, and that's just who I'm always going to favor as the Joker.
She just likes Jack Nicholson's Jokers because remember at the end he was shaking his butt. She liked that.
Imagine the generation that had to grow up with Jared Leto as their Joker.
Poor
SOBs. Poor SOBs.
Worst Joker ever.
Yeah, that was.
It depends. I mean, if you see the Justice League Zack Snyder cut.
Snack? Are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm a little hungry.
Yeah, he is, because he also doesn't know how to feed himself, but that's another story.
But Jared Leto's Joker, they did like a small scene in that, and he looked like the Joker.
Well, he took off the tattoos.
That was not less. He was less Papi Chulo in that one.
Yeah, they took off the grill and they took off the tattoos.
That one little flashback scene when they're dancing, recreating that comic book cover with him in the tux.
Something like that.
That was a good scene.
He redeemed himself in Zack Snyder's release of the Justice League film towards the end, where they have that scene. He redeemed himself there. It was a side of Joker we were wanting to see, and we finally got it.
A lot of times, actors they have their own take on the character. Jared Leto had a lot of ideas, but none of them made the cutting floor. Are they all made the cutting floor? They got cut out of the film. And when we thought they were going to be in the Zack Snyder film, they still didn't even make it in there.
They should have cut out that off-note laugh he had. That was horrible.
Backpedal, everybody. We're not talking about that crap fest.
Oh, I get a lot of crap for my favorite Joker was Cesar Romero.
Oh, dude.
That's
the man right there.
That's okay, yeah.
Have a shake on me. A joke a day keeps the gloom away.
My mom's dad used to have Cesar Romero come over.
The hell you say?
And they would play poker, Cesar Romero and Desi Arnaz, in my grandmother's kitchen because my grandfather used to be the maitre d' at the Brown Derby back in the day.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's cool.
Would he do the character?
Every time he got the Joker card, he would laugh. Who left this in the deck?
Overall, did you guys like his portrayal of the Joker? Jack Nicholson, I mean.
Oh, I mean, he was he was pretty much spot on with the dark macabre version of coming from the pages of the comic book into the movie. His iteration, I think, even influenced up and coming comic book artists as they were venturing off with their own skill set and developing their styles with their art and drawing inspiration from Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker. So yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I definitely loved his portrayal. Every time you see Jack Nicholson now, that's all you think is Joker. I mean, he still looks like the Joker to this day. And he even said himself that playing the Joker was his best role ever. Just the simple fact that the Joker had that tasteless sense of humor.
And the fact that that is his favorite role, no matter how many things he's done and how many things he's been good in, and the fact favorite character was the Joker, that says a lot, I guess.
The fact that, didn't he win an award for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
I think he did, yeah.
I mean, you would think that would have been his favorite role, but no, Joker is his favorite role.
And see, the thing is, okay, so when casting and all that came out, Michael Keaton actually wanted more. He was like, hey, I'm Batman. Jack Nicholson said, okay, I'll tell you what. You can give him what you were going to pay me, but you give me top billing and you give me a cut of the merchandising.
Of the box office. The box office.
Man.
If that's not a real life Joker, I don't know what is, because he made almost 5 times as much as in merchandising.
What's that? He made that season ticket Lakers money, man. He had those things for life at that point.
No, I guess because of that, he just put a lifetime payment on the Lakers season tickets and you don't have to pay anymore. But I remember Michael Keaton tried to do the same thing in Batman Returns. They're like, nope, we learned the first time.
You're screwed, buddy.
From just the box office take, he took home $60 million, and that was back in '89.
Wow.
I tried to do look up some sort of adjustment for inflation. And I mean, at least what I found on here was, back in 22, the inflation was roughly $143 million and change.
And that was 2 times the budget of the movie. Budget of the movie was $35 million.
Nicholson was smart because he's worked with studios this whole time and he's been aware of Warner Brothers. And I'm pretty sure he had insight, and I'm not trying to say it's like a stock exchange type thing, but he had insight from whispers going on, because when I watched the making of this Batman film, Warner Brothers put so much money into the promo and the hype for the movie. And I'm sure once Jack saw that, he went gold mine. And he goes, I'll take the pay cut if you give me a little bit on the back end. Like, he went in there like legit mafioso. Like, let me just get a little taste at the very end of it. I'll be okay.
Given the fact that you were a teenager when this movie came out, so you probably have a better understanding or remember a lot better than we do. From what I can remember, like promo-wise, this thing was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
You had like Alfred doing Diet Coke commercials. I remember Taco Bell heavily promoting this film. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go to Taco Bell all the time because they gave Batman cups out.
I still remember the Batman cereal.
And you know what? To this day, that is still my favorite cereal. And it's so basic.
And then remember, I don't know if you guys remember the Batman stunt show that they had at Magic Mountain.
I was just telling Toxic about that. I was like, I remember going to that show all the time.
I think
he was like, what was it? I was like, it was just like the beginning scene where they're fighting.
When the Batmobile drives into the factory, drops the bomb, and then everything blows up.
And I think, because I haven't been to Six Flags in probably about 20 years, so I probably did catch the show. I don't remember much of it, but Batman, and I know it sounds cliche, now Batman is probably my favorite comic book character of all time. Poison can attest to that, because when we first started, hanging out and all that stuff, do you remember that Batman hoodie I wore?
Which everywhere? Is funny, though, that you don't have a Batman tattoo. You have other comic characters on you. Just saying,
No, that is very true.
Called you out on that one.
No, that is very true. Because I'm waiting for these. I don't want to just get anything. Not that I do. Well, kind of in my younger years. But I do want to get a Batman portrait that was actually drawn by Jim Lee.
Do you remember that Batman hoodie that you wore to death?
Yeah. And do you remember? And I remember the first time I ordered it off the Warner Brothers website, when I got it, the logo was slanted and it pissed me off. Remember? But I was like, let me see if I can make this work. And I would kind of just lean over to the side as I'm walking.
This will throw his posture off.
Yeah,
I gotta make sure
lean a little bit to the left so you can even out.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I have a bulging disc in my lower back now, because of that Batman hoodie. I wore that thing to death. I've been reading Batman comics probably about last 30 years. As much as I did enjoy the Tim Burton Batman, but along with the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns or the Return of Dark Knight, whatever, and this movie, those two things introduced me to the world of Batman.
That's awesome.
This has so many layers that, yeah, okay, it's a comic book movie to some, but if you think about it, and let me ask you guys this, all of you guys, do you think this is the only movie in any other Batman before and any other Batman after that Gotham City is its own character?
I mean, I've always appreciated the way Gotham City looked, the way they portrayed it, and at least Batman Returns, even onto the less favored Batman Forever and Batman
we don't speak
and
of
Robin.
Those. We don't speak of those.
But when you're talking about Gotham, though, from the look and appeal, it's like when they want to try to bring a comic book to life, and you have to make this city look, alive, kind of vibrant at times. And the architecture itself, I mean, I really enjoy all of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tim Burton really caught that ambiance of what Gotham City should look like. Because once you get into the later Batmans, all it looks like is just New York City.
It does.
You know?
It looks very much like New York. Like, oh, I think I've seen this in some other movie before. And Gotham City in '89, it's not. It, like Toxic says, it's kind of its own thing. It's not. You can't find it in other movies. There's variations of it, but it's not the same. It doesn't have the same look or appeal.
Yeah, and you don't want to go into a comic book movie seeing real. You don't want to see Batman in real life.
Yeah, you don't want to see Batman in Times Square.
You want to see him in
a comic
Gotham
book
City.
setting. Yeah,
a real Gotham City in a comic book setting.
Yeah, something that looks more not so realistic, allowing you to go to the movies and kind of step out of reality. Right. I know movies now try to make everything look like, well, this could be real, and they try to make it to like, oh, it's just New York City, but this style was just so much better. I feel like in Batman Returns, you get to see so much more of Gotham. I just felt that they made it look a lot more darker. Even when it comes to like the other characters, and not even main characters, but like just knowing that the Penguin was ditched in like sewer when he was just a baby in the middle of the snow in a cemetery. It's like you just think all these people in this town are just kind of messed up.
Yeah, that's why Batman Returns is actually my favorite over 1989 Batman. Just for that reason, because it's just dark. It had a darker ambiance to it compared to 89. You actually see scenes where it's daylight out, and Batman Returns, there is no daylight. It's just dark through the whole damn movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they do have daylight, but it's overcast. I get that aspect on what you're talking about, but it's just something about the Tim Burton universe that hasn't been duplicated. Mm-hmm. And I'm only saying a close second is actually the Batman film.
That was really cool.
As much as I like Christopher Nolan's Batman, I still had like questions and things I didn't like. And
it wasn't dark enough.
It wasn't. I mean, maybe the Dark Knight, but I give that to Heath Ledger. That's why.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to comment on what you said, SoCal, when you were referring to the whole place setting of Gotham City and all that, and you were making your key points, in one of Nolan's films, when we had Liam Neeson playing Ra's al Ghul, that was his main focal point of what he was trying to convince Bruce of. He goes, Gotham City is its own disease. It has to be destroyed so it can rebuild itself, because it already had that structured archetype of being dark and dungeonous and having that very like, it's a depressed city feeling, but that was what the character of the city was, what he was describing as, and why it had to be destroyed.
Before, like, this to me was the first ever summer blockbuster. I know they had Jaws before, but obviously none of us were born when that movie came out.
It was the first summer blockbuster film.
Oh yeah, Jaws was, but like for Batman '89 was the first one for me. I went to go see this in Glendale, and the theater does no longer exist there, but it's on the same street. And I think they only had one, maybe two movies. I remember, this is before you can advance ticket sales. You know what I mean? No, you had to stand in line like everybody else.
Scalper, son, the scalper. Hey, man, let me get that.
You tell me what scalpers that would go around in movie theaters. I would like to know that.
Yeah, sneak in the back.
For a movie big, so, I mean, they had it done for Star Wars and stuff. People were like trying to get in on that market.
I remember the line was like around the block.
Yep.
And ridiculous. And I remember my showing was at 10 o'clock. I went with my dad. I went with my grandmother. Actually, I think my mom went, but she wasn't too happy. So she was pouting the whole time. Oh, the kids are up too late and, all this other stuff. My dad simply said, you know what? Shut up. If you don't want to be here, just get out. Okay. So he's like, you are not going to ruin this movie for us. So
exactly. No, you're not.
Everybody, it was a big theater. Everybody was rowdy, throwing popcorn, running down the aisles, all this. I mean, stuff you can't get away with nowadays. But the moment the lights dimmed, everybody went ape shit and everyone ran to their seats and everybody silenced. They were ready.
Focus, everyone. Focus.
Getting introduced to that opening score by Danny Elfman.
Oh, God.
He created this Batman score. It's iconic. It's amazing.
That's daddy right there.
Just hearing it gets you pumped. Like Star Wars fans like the Star Wars, score. It just gets you pumped as soon as you hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Still two of my favorite composers of all time, John Williams and Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. John was a legend in his own right. But Danny Elfman, again, referring to the making of the Batman movie. And I recommend any of the fans listening to it to look that up. You can watch it on YouTube. It's the whole behind the scenes making of the Batman film. And what's really cool about that is, Michael Keaton was still relatively, I'm not going to say up and coming actor, but he was building his chops to be like having a huge breakout role. And then you had Tim Burton, who was an up and comer, just barely cutting his teeth on his whole story and artist type and bringing that land forward that we were starting to enjoy. But this was like Danny Elfman's first time at a big motion picture like that. And the fact that he just created that from scratch, it for me personally, it's like a calling. We only get these certain types of people every so often, every certain generations. We have Burton, we have Cameron. So it was a phenomenal time period to be alive, to experience this stuff and see these people manifest their art and bring it to life and just blow all of our minds.
And I think for Danny Elfman, he had just left Oingo Boingo.
I mean, he already had an amazing score for Beetlejuice as well. So he had some
that is true. Yeah,
so he'd been with Tim Burton, so he liked what he did with Beetlejuice.
I think they broke up years later, but Batman really that was his big challenge because, yes, nobody really knew who Beetlejuice was, but everyone knew who Batman was. It was either ride or die with this guy.
Yeah, a lot of the amazing scores that he made, Danny Elfman, back then, you're right. They introduced new characters. People didn't really know at the time. It's just like introducing something new now, but you don't have any clue what's going to become a cult classic 20 years down the line and which movie scores we're still going to be listening to. People are still going to buy the vinyls to this many years later.
The one character, there's so many characters in this movie. My personal favorite is still probably underrated to this day is Bob the Goon. I love Bob the Goon.
Bob.
Joker's right-hand man.
And Bob, remember, you are my number one guy. Yes, sir.
I don't know. I wish they exploit a little more of that character, but I kind of was sad when the Joker killed him himself.
Yeah, he just killed him. He killed him because he didn't know that Batman had a bat plane. Was it the Batwing?
The Batwing.
And also, isn't this the first time that the world ever seen the Batwing?
So especially when he flies up and you see him go in front of the moon. Like I remember everybody popping in the theater for
exactly, same thing.
That was when they introduced the logo. That was what got people on board, seeing it take over the moon.
I still get goosies every time I see that.
Two things I still regret. I don't know what happened to him, but at one point I did have the Batmobile and I did have the Batwing from it, but they got misplaced when I was a kid. And I regret that because those are still two of the most iconic toys attached to that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I remember playing with that Batmobile. I knew I played with the Batmobile somewhere, but I don't remember where. It was yours, Hank.
Yep. I missed that damn thing. Dime, I have a question for you though, sir, since again, you have a little bit of the years on us and you were more of a teenager then, so you had more of pulling in what you were watching. For the demographic of fellow teenagers of you guys at that time being rambunctious and stuff, what was the climate around there of how everyone was reacting to it if you weren't such a big non-fan? But my thing was, what were the parents' reactions to like the obnoxious teens going, this is cool? It's like that whole culture, subculture canceling itself out type of thing I wanted to know.
Almost like the Generation X type thing, right? I think the parents were accepting of it. Because they're like, okay, here's a new generation that's getting into Batman like we did when we were kids. For them, though, it was the comic books, the early comic books. Seeing how old, probably, these are parents that are probably born in, the 60s, 50s, 60s. Oh, no, probably a little later than that. Probably in the late 60s.
Howdy Doody and all that.
It's wild. It's wild that there was no, satanic panic about it. I mean, back in the 80s, parents were...
You would have figured something like that would have kicked off.
No, but it was a comic book. But it wasn't like, it was, they were going out and seeing The Exorcist.
I mean, they were protesting video games. They were protesting bands. They were protesting anything that seemed demonic. So to have a bat character, they would probably be like, oh, he's the devil. Comics are the devil.
Speaking of video games, the marketing was left and right. So, of course, the video game business had to jump on the Batmania. And they gave us Batman 1989 on Nintendo. And to this day, so many years later, I cannot beat that game.
Dude, that
Nintendo
game
or Super Nintendo
is hard as shit.
It is flipping hard. But I still have my iPod, and I still have it downloaded on a hard drive.
Nice.
To this day, even though it doesn't get enough credit in the limelight under Sunsoft developing the Batman game for the Nintendo console, one of the best 8-bit tune soundtracks I've ever listened to.
I gotta agree with that.
I remember
living in my old place, and Poison would come to visit me. I would get in a rage because I would play that game and I cannot beat it because it almost had this type of Ninja Gaiden gameplay, but with Batman characters.
Yes.
Yeah. The Nintendo rage was real. It's like you had developers making these video games, and it makes you wonder, who are they making these for? Are they making them for children? Because I don't know any 5-year-old that could beat this game.
How can we give kids PTSD? Let's see.
And that game was definitely ahead of its time.
For
89, yeah.
Well, see, now that he said it, though, Poison, I'm reaching out to you. And for all those of y'all who don't know, me and Poison are cousins here. And because Toxic said it, I need to hear from her. How bad would he get wound up playing the Batman game? I need to hear that. Did you roll your eyes in the background going, he's a moron?
Yeah, because he still does that shit. I hear him, even Chloe's like, Mom, Dad's angry again, leave him alone. I'm like, oh, he's playing a game. But you hear him, he's like, Mother, and you just hear him the sounds he makes that come out of his room sound like he stubbed his toe or ripped the toenail off. You just hear crazy. If you didn't know, you'd be like, what the hell is he doing? Is he hulking out in there? What's going on?
Is that what they call it these days?
Yeah,
when the boys are alone in the room, they're hulking out?
Yeah.
Having the Michael Keaton reaction to not wanting the promo rights at the end. Oh, man, I screwed up with that.
It's probably 2 reasons why. And she can agree with me on this. The 2 reasons why I would rage out. 1, that's why I don't play video games too often, because I get seriously angry. And
I get the same way.
It's why he shouldn't be watching sports, because he gets too angry.
That's
and it ends up making his stomach hurt.
And that's the second one. Now, I'm probably out of everyone here. I'm probably the most active when it comes to sport. I know it's a little bit off the subject. For anyone that's listening, I can easily say, don't get involved, because especially emotionally. So video games is 1, and the San Jose Sharks are the second. And actually, wait, San Jose Sharks is first, and then video games, because I will sit there and yell at my television, cussing left and right, and exactly what Poison says. If my daughter goes, "Oh, Dad's angry again," leave him alone. Leave him alone. And then
you don't want to walk in that line of fire, because he will rip you a new one.
I've cracked controllers.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I don't think
his
I've ever
old house, when we first started hanging out before we were dating, there was holes in the wall, and I'd be like, "What happened?" I got pissed off at the fucking game, and I'm like, "It's a game," and he's like, "Look at me." Wait, it's not just video games. He's like that. The first time,
movies, getting your quotes right,
first
comic
time
books.
we ever played Connect 4, I beat him 12 times in a row of Connect 4. We were at my mom's house in Eagle Rock. And he got up and he walked out, and I thought he was in the bathroom. And I go and I'm like, Mom, where's Jeremy? Or where's Toxic? And she's like, oh, he left. He was mad. What happened? You guys get in a fight? And I was like, I beat him at Connect 4. And she's like, how many times? He's like, 12. And she's like, yeah, let him beat you one time. I was like, hell no, I'm not gonna let him beat me. Like, he's not a kid. Like,
it was somewhere.
He wanted to play.
And it was somewhere.
He doesn't take losing easy. It's not,
It must have been somewhere between losing at the video games and her noticing the punches in the wall that she was like, I'm going to marry this man one day.
That's the dude for me. Anger issues.
And now, and it's funny,
toxic.
and I know we're going off topic, but it's funny because the roles are kind of reversed now.
Well, no. So now I have to ask. Since you pointed
after
out,
being with you for so long, of course I would be angry.
Yeah. So wait.
Jerry.
So, I need to ask you, since Poison pointed this out. So if you have that same affliction and you go crazy, kind of like I am with my video games, and you're flipping over like your tabletop games, how do you control yourself from not raging out when your daughter whoops your butt at a tabletop game? How you're not like, you're freaking grounded. You're so, oh my God, you're grounded.
I mean, when it's your kid, they're a branch of you. So in a way, you won too. I don't know.
She's like me though, and she likes to do him dirty. Like we like when we played one of his what is that game you play with Daddy? No, what is that game you guys play?
Pokemon.
No, the one with the little guys that you painted forever.
Warhammer Kill Team.
Oh my gosh, she will like annihilate him, and I was like, I don't want to get into this. I'm gonna do it. And she's like, Mom, did you kill Dad? I'm like, I did. I killed him good. She's like, good job. Like, we love to, like, just kill him.
Oh, man. I keep an eye open when you sleep, bro.
Well, that's why I sleep on the couch.
Most nights of the life, right?
No. Yeah, right. Anyways, back out of my personal life, and let's get back to the subject at hand. Yeah, going back to what you said, SoCal, like, what 5-year-old can beat a Batman video game? So
facts.
Are most of the NES games back then?
Oh,
all these games,
the first
very difficult.
I can go on and on.
And the fact, I forgot who had said it, this game had no remorse. So if by some chance you made it to the Joker's like, not today, and just kill you with these 2 or 3 hits. And then you have to start all over again.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Did he pull out that 6-foot gun out of his pants and then just ice you with it?
You would get creamed.
There was no save points back in the day, man.
Oh no. The kids nowadays don't know the struggle of a save point.
Yep.
Don't know.
You were lucky. You were lucky.
The trouble
in the Nintendo era to get a passcode.
Right.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you, Toxic, and I'm sure all of you guys have come across this. Maybe not SoCal. No, I've seen Batman on every form of media, whether it's VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. The coolest version, huh?
Laserdisc?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, that's what I was going to say. The coolest version I ever saw is we actually had a teacher when I was in high school and getting close to graduate. He brought in a little stack of Laserdisc movies, and he was showing us one a day for the next couple of days because there was like, school is pretty much over. We're graduating. And not only did he show us Terminator 2 on Laserdisc that looked freaking amazing, he broke out Batman on Laserdisc. And to this day, even with 4K, that Laserdisc is probably the best version of Batman I've ever seen. And not to mention, just because it's like the size of an album, the coolest promo art. It's just the Bat logo, all black cover, Bat logo. Beautiful looking.
That's wild, man. I mean, I am a collector of digital media as well as physical media. So when it came to knowing that this movie was going to come to 4K, of course I had to grab that as soon as I could. And I could say that for those that have watched it, the colors are vibrant. The appearance of these characters are sharp. It's wild how they could take something from, the late 80s and make it look like it was made somewhere in the past 5 years. It really is amazing. It's stunning to watch, especially with the Joker and his outfits and his goons and how they stand out in this dark city. So I've never watched the Laserdisc. I've never watched a Laserdisc. For those of you that do watch 4Ks, I'm representing you guys. It's a good version.
I highly recommend checking out the Laserdisc. Just like Toxic always points out, certain movies are better on VHS. I can contest to that too. There's just certain versions of a movie on VHS that's far superior than any.
And the thing is, you could still find Laserdisc players. They're pretty affordable.
Yes,
and along with the movies as well.
The laser discs, though, some of them are very sought after because they were only limited print.
That's true.
Yeah, they're like hundreds of dollars.
Now, we all know because of this spawned Batman the Animated Series, and it introduced us to a whole new world of Batman. I honestly think, in just my opinion, if it wasn't for the landscape of Batman 89, I don't even think that series would exist.
I agree with that. A lot of inspiration for Batman iterations moving forward started off from Burton and Batman 89.
Mm-hmm. Including the score being carried over and the view of the appearance of the Batmobile.
Yeah. That influenced, I think, what's his name? I think the guy's name, hopefully I'm getting it correct and I'm not going to have a Toxic J moment here and butcher a name, but wasn't it Paul Dini who developed the animated series?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we all grew up to that, and it still holds up to this day compared to, like, whatever crap cartoons are out nowadays.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just read a quote today, too, that Mark Hamill actually auditioned for the role of Joker on the animated series because of Jack Nicholson's portrayal.
Jack Nicholson, correct.
Originally they had Tim Curry, but it didn't really work out.
It was there, but it wasn't fully there.
Yeah. Now,
and big out to Kevin Conroy, too, since we mentioned it.
Rest in peace, Kevin.
Life. We love you, buddy.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that episode, but Kevin Conroy, man, rest in peace. Much respect.
What do you rate this within the Bat universe? Doesn't matter what. God. Like, for me, I'll go first. This is probably my number one.
I can't say it's my number one. I mean, I could, coming from a point, it's the first one I saw as a kid, but because I've seen all the other movies. Now, I'm not talking graphics or any of that. I'm solely basing off of, for me, my first one that would jump in place of Batman 89. It would have to be Christopher Nolan's first one at bat, because you get a lot more of the backstory of Bruce Wayne and when he traveled and all stuff. Once that movie's there, then I would put Batman 89 right after it.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Dime?
For me, Batman 89 would probably be close second to Batman Returns. Because maybe being a clown, I love Tim Burton, period. I love all his movies. But like I said earlier, Batman Returns has a special place in my heart. This one would be Batman 89, definitely a close second.
Mm-hmm.
What about the man with the chainsaw?
Now, I was waiting to see who was going to jump on George Clooney as their favorite Batman first.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Unplug him.
The Batman with the nipples.
SoCal is no longer with Corpses for Conversation, everyone.
But no, definitely not my selection. Definitely not my selection. I have to go with, even though there are new ones, and like Zom said, we do get into the backstories more with the Christopher Nolan films, and they do give off a different type of darkness, including the Robert Pattinson film that gives you like a dark kind of look of Gotham, and it felt like just like a really gothic type film. But when it comes to just a Batman movie I could put on any time and just enjoy every minute of it, that I don't have to closely pay attention to miss a single detail like some of the newer films give you, I would have to say Batman Returns is my number one, but then obviously 89 would be second.
Nice.
Now, I probably already know the answer, but I'm going to let her answer it. What do you think, Poison? And actually, she has a pretty good...
What do you think my answer is?
Clooney.
I'm curious.
Val Kilmer, right?
Oh my
it's Val Kilmer.
The Bat Butt.
The Bat Butt.
Oh my God.
I remember you telling me that.
Kilmer was a pretty decent Batman, too.
You're like, oh, man,
Kilmer was a good
hot
Batman.
Bat Butt. I was like, okay.
Shut up.
That's America's ass.
She actually has a interesting story, but I'll let her explain and tell her. But
wait. Not America's ass, Gotham's ass.
Gotham's ass. We're gonna.
So I'd say it's a toss-up between Batman Returns and 89. Definitely Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman, so much that I risked my job at the time talking to him. I used to work at the Greek Theater. I was an usher, and you weren't supposed to talk to celebrities. I was like, dude, this is Michael Keaton. I don't care. Like, I'm going to talk to him.
DAFQ?
Exactly. Like, I love Beetlejuice, but, like, you were Batman before I knew Beetlejuice, you know? So I was ushering him, and, like, you know, I was like, oh, my gosh, like, you know, you're Michael Keaton. He kind of looked at me like, yeah, I am. Like, you know, like, don't tell anybody, you know? Like,
and what year? What year was this?
Nice. This was in 2001 or 2, I think.
Keaton in 2001. Where have you been?
Talking to him, whatever, and we're just kind of chit-chatting, small talk. I'm walking him to his box, helping him out,
And I was like, you're my favorite. Like, you're my favorite Batman. Like, you will always be Batman to me. Like, yes, you're always going to be Beetlejuice, but before Beetlejuice, you're always going to be Batman to me. Like, you are my favorite. And I'm like, nobody else like will ever compare to you. I'm like, those are my favorite movies. And he was like, oh, thank you. And then at the end of the night, he's just like, I just wanted to say thank you, for all your help. And he's like, good night. And as he said good night, he leaned over and he gave me a kiss on my forehead. Oh. And I was like, what the hell? Oh my God.
I just got kissed by Batman.
Yeah, seriously. So I text Toxic, and this is when text messages were still like you had to pay, like they weren't free.
Screw you.
Like 10 minutes to
I texted him.
Kissed by Batman.
I texted him. He was closing at a music store he used to work up at, and I was just like, Batman kissed me.
And then and
all
there,
I said.
I did not reply. What do you mean?
Who is this bastard?
No,
Cheater.
I did not do that. I automatically thought, I was like, I think my reaction was, oh my God, are you serious? Like I was happy.
And then like my coworker I was working with, he was like, dude, did you just get kissed by Batman? I was like, yes, I did. He was like, oh my God. He's like, I want to be you right now.
I mean,
I can see Toxic doing something like that. Hey, did you kiss him back for me?
I met
a lot of really interesting people there. I met Danny DeVito there too with his wife one night.
Oh, sick. That's cool.
There was just so many really cool people that I met. But yeah, he was just like, I was so shocked. And I was like, they were like, dude, you could get fired. I was like, no one's going to fire. Like, you can't fire Batman for kissing me on the forehead. Like, I didn't, I didn't kiss him. He kissed me. Like,
that's the best rate. That's a classic response. I didn't kiss him. He kissed me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's always one celebrity with every couple that you get a hall pass on, where it's like, if it ever happened in any way, you're allowed to cheat for this person. And for you guys, it's Michael Keaton.
This Toxic, you know who my hall pass is, right?
Oh yeah, I do.
Who?
I'm wearing the shirt.
What?
Anthrax?
I'm wearing the
Scott
shirt.
Ian?
Oh, well, that's no. But who do I? No, it's Keanu Reeves. That's like.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Look at it. Oh man, if more fans can see the video.
It's the Keanu Reeves face. But yeah, for like 20 years, it was always Scott Ian.
Toxic's face was like, I'm offended with what my wife just said. How dare she?
I don't care. I mean, hey man, if you can give me movie premieres, why not?
Well, you met Keanu Reeves too, right?
Yes, she actually met Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I was blessed to meet Kevin Conroy. You guys saw the photo because, of course, I cried on the episode we recorded. I think the only other coolest person I got to meet where I almost risked my job is when I was working, and I don't want to say the place because I had stuff going on, but I was working in downtown for a private social club.
Oh, I know where you're at.
Not a gentleman's club, but like a legit private club for people with money. And he came to our club because they had a private viewing for Farrah Fawcett, who passed away. And I was bringing people up the stairs, and he walked right by me, and I recognized him right off the bat. And I was like, I reached out and I shook his hand. I was like, oh, Keith David, dude. I said, you were the best voice of Spawn ever for the animated series. And he just looked at me. He's like, and in his voice, he's like, don't you forget it. And he walked away. I was like, oh my God, freaking hell. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Spawn, wait, that's the second time you've met Spawn, right?
Yeah. I also met Michael Jai White at the store. Not the store I worked at, but the company I worked for at a different store. He came in with his wife, who was really cool. I actually had my apron with Spawn on it that I drew, and I was helping him get glue for some type of statue figuring of his that he broke, and he needed like a little tube of crazy glue, but the way he described it, I thought he needed like heavy duty industrial, so I walked him over to like hardcore adhesive, and he's like, no, and I was like, okay, I'll get you this. And then his wife goes, oh honey, look. She points to my apron, and he goes, oh yeah. And I was like, I was waiting for you, dude. You're freaking Spawn, man. And I got a picture with him pointing at my apron and all. And I had my bosses looking at me, and I'm like going, go ahead. I'll walk home right now happy. I don't care. Go ahead.
See,
say it.
I got a question for Poison. I got a question for Poison myself, because Poison says that Michael Keaton, this is her Batman. She loved his portrayal of him, Batman and Bruce Wayne. When rewatching this film, I'm like, dude, Batman's kind of rude to women. When he's trying to save Vicky Vale in the
Have
alley,
you met my husband?
And he says, and he says, how much do you weigh? He asks her weight, and at the end he insults her and says, you weigh more than 103.
108.
108, yeah. And then when he goes into her apartment after she's like, nah, man, like you just kind of threw me on the back burner. You just, left me on red. You didn't call me back. And he's like, just sit down and listen to me and accept my apology. I'm like, this dude is wild. He would have gotten canceled in today's film.
I know, back in the day, misogyny actually got away on a lot of films.
So much for the Me Too movement.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying. Do you feel that Keaton's portrayal when it comes to those still can be looked at today in a positive way?
Nowadays, no, he definitely would be canceled because people complain about everything. I mean, everything we grew up on could be canceled if you looked at, if you really wanted to argue it, it could be all canceled. So no, definitely his portrayal would not. Because
with today's standards and everything we just talked about. So basically, the entire decade of the 80s would have been canceled.
Oh, I mean,
pretty much.
They freaked out with the Harley Quinn HBO animated show, which was phenomenal.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, but they freaked out because during that show, I think in the comic storyline, they actually referred to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy finally hooking up and becoming a couple. Man, comic book people weren't really frightened about it, but the outside sources, they freaking had a cow. I mean, they popped their lid for that. They weren't for it at all.
I know we talked about this off camera before we pressed record. Now, we know Batman's code of honor, correct?
Correct.
Now, in this, Batman kills quite a few people in this.
A lot of people in horrible ways.
Fools were getting messed up, man.
Not just, he blows people up and, throwing people off buildings and, just that's not Batman's MO, but Michael Keaton and Tim Burton are nah.
He was like a bully. Yeah. He's like, you want a bat knuckle sandwich, huh?
That one when he's in the alley in that same scene that I was talking about, and you have that one gangster guy jumps over the fence and he has these double swords. And he's swinging them all around, looking like he's very dangerous. I don't know how he does it, but Batman somehow gets if you notice, he gets razors that pop out of his hands like Wolverine, and he just gets this dude right in the crotch with him. And it's just an instant kill. I'm just did he just knife him in the...
That's actually at the third act. That part where he hops over with the ninja swords and does all that fancy, all Batman does is just kick him right in the face, and he does a flip and knocks him out.
Yeah.
But to this day...
he had some blades, man. He had some blades on whatever it was on his foot.
No, but yeah, when that whole... Another ninja guy came out in the bell tower scene, he had some, I don't know what they were, he hit him so hard in his dick, it's just he passed out, or
yeah, I know. That was what stuck out to me, and I'm like, this guy just got knifed in the dick so hard he died.
And then look what happened. He wrapped his leg around one dude, hit him in the head with the bell, and just throws him down.
Yeah. And speaking of deaths, though, I mean, the Joker's death. Every time I watch it, I'm just that's so brutal.
They just tried to beat the crap out of Joker, and
they just tried to think what's the most horrible way that this guy could die, and when he locks him up, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses.
For what the movie is, and I'm pretty sure this bothers Zom because he wants accuracy. Or
bring it. Bring the Haterade. I was waiting for it. Come on.
Don't shed a tear. Haterade is here. The new Haterade Thirst Quencher non-fruit juice comes equipped with 30 milligrams of potassium, 14 grams of carbohydrates, and 100% Haterism. Oh, and don't forget the electrolytes with all natural flavors, plus a numerous flavored varieties such as orange, fruit punch, grape, and plenty more. So to requench what you love to hate, drink Haterade.
In a comic book
I think I know what scene you're referring to, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Even then, I was just so when he dies, hits the ground, he should be splattered into a million pieces.
He should have been a pink stain on the ground.
But all it was just a few rubbles crushed around him, and that was it.
He crushed into the ground. He made an indent in the sidewalk.
It should have just been the makeup of his face stuck to the asphalt. That should have been it.
I do and I've always tried to replicate the laugh of that recorded machine. I'm trying to find that for a ringtone to this day.
I think it's in one of the Arkham Asylum video games.
Oh, wow.
Or try the Zedge app.
Yeah, correct. Or the Zedge app for ringtones.
Didn't you have that laugh on one of your answering machine things?
I think I did. But see, back then when I was recording to make my own personal voicemail, I had to put the phone up at my TV to record it.
I remember those days.
You touched upon, though, TJ, was correct. That scene you were referring to, the one I brought up, when he has the fight with Napier in the toxic chemical plant, and he knocks him over the railing, and you see Batman reach over to grab him because Batman already had this prior knowledge of who this guy was. The focus shots they did on his face and his eyes, you legit can tell Batman let go. Batman said,
you know what? That's the age-old question. I don't think he let go. This is just me. I just think I'm not going to let you die, but I'm not going to save you. So that's why he put no effort into.
Yeah, he wanted him to suffer for the pain he went through for losing his parents. So he was just like, he literally was Two-Face. I'm gonna flip the coin and let it decide. See ya, Jack.
When it comes to the film, though, he actually didn't realize that was the same person until he gets shot in Vicky Vale's house. Because before he shoots him, he tells him, "You ever dance with the devil?" That whole line, and that's when he's like, "What did you say?"
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
Because that's when he realizes it, and then that's when he has the memories, and he's like, where did I hear that before? So he didn't know back at the time. He figured it out later. But what I don't know
who that actor was to portray a young Jack Napier, but he looked exactly like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
he got a good look. See, what I was wondering was, at the end, when he said the quote that Zom told us, the whole, I made you, you made me first.
Yep.
That whole thing. And he tells him that it's like the Joker remembers who he is. Was he the only person that he ever let live? That's kind of what I was getting at with that. Is he usually shoots all of his victims, but I'm guessing that he's like the only one that he let live, because after that moment, he's like, I was just a kid. Like, how did he know? How did he remember that was him?
Now, do you think after so many years, this movie's been out, we've talked about a bunch of spoilers, do you think this movie holds up to today?
Oh, heck yeah.
I was definitely.
Now, I think so, only for the fact, and
for Prince alone, man, party man.
Speaking of Prince,
Prince on the soundtrack, man.
Did the entire soundtrack and all my workout routine songs. Still to this day.
You have one of those Bat Dance costumes from the music video in your closet.
That song I didn't.
It was awesome.
What I liked about this film is that not anywhere in the entire film, at least I can remember, it did not mention the year of what this took place.
Correct.
So that's why, for me, it's still relevant to this day, because you could play, this could happen in today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a made up city, so it could look like that all year round.
Yeah. A question for you guys, because again, when we rewatch movies, sometimes we miss things, and I know TJ really watches them and he gets like hyper focused on certain things. There was one part in the movie where I was like, are my eyes playing tricks with me, or was this like hidden stuff that Burton was putting in there every so often? But it's the scene where they go to the whole press conference. It's right before, Nicholson as Joker comes out as the mime and all that. I think they start firing, and you see Bruce walk like he's in a daze because he's fixated on the Joker. But right behind him on one scene, on the opposite wall facing him, there's a poster, and I swore it looked like Killer Croc. It's in the very background. It's a white, just regular piece of paper, and it looks like one of those old posters you would put for somebody wanted or something. And just by looking at it, I went, man, that looks like Killer Croc. And I was like, I wonder if that was like a secret Easter egg he put in there, because he was maybe planning to spawn something off from there. It looked really cool.
I'm glad you brought up that scene, because I wanted to bring it up myself. That's supposed to be when the Joker wants to reveal himself to Gotham, to get some press, to have people know who he is, like get his name out there. And it's funny that you see the news reports in the next scene where they're showing like a body being carried on a stretcher, which crazy they made that to the news. But then even though people are talking about that there was a shooting, the only thing people are talking about is who's Batman.
Well, even in that, like when they do the artist rendition of Batman in the newsroom, and you see this bat with his pinstripe suit on, like a gangster bat. But if you notice in the bottom left corner, you can see Bob Kane's signature on.
Yeah, oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
I'm surprised no one's cosplayed that.
I know, right? I'm actually surprised with the whole new woke culture and them supposedly coming out with eventually at some point another anniversary edition of Batman, that they're not going to go in there and correct it, because it was proven in court via documents and stuff that accreditation to Batman was officially given to Bill Fingers over Bob Kane.
As far as I'm concerned, screw Bob Kane. He did Bill Finger dirty.
Oh, dude, real bad.
So I would recommend, if anyone can watch it, it's called I believe it's called Batman and I, or Batman and Bill.
Yeah,
and it talks about
that's a great
how
one.
Bill Finger finally got credit for creating this world that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Now, Bob Kane just writ it, but his first version of Batman was horrible.
Yep.
Like, Bill Finger is my guy, man. Kudos to him and what
Agreed.
he's created.
Yes, agreed, 1,000%.
To this day, even at my age, I am 40, and when I saw this movie when it came out, I was 6. That ending and that score with Batman looking up at the bat symbol. There are very few movies that how I feel about that do this to me, but this movie did. It still gives me goosebumps, and I get very emotional watching that scene.
It's like the Rocky theme, dude. It's pure hype. It hypes you up like mad.
And there's only like a handful of times where I could count where you've been in a movie theater and the movie's ending and there's just a standing ovation. And that was one of the times, just being in that theater and everybody just reacting to that scene. It was just amazing.
Yeah, it really feels like the introduction of Batman. You know, it was Michael Keaton, it was Tim Burton, it was them bringing Batman to a new generation, almost like rebranding him and just introducing that Batman to a whole new generation when it comes to like, and when you watch this movie, nobody knows who Batman is, not until the very end. And they're like, Batman's a hero, Batman's here to help us. How do we call him? He gave us a signal, and you get to see that signal up there, and it's just with the score, like you said, it's amazing. An amazing scene.
And if I may, 3 really fast things to point out. During the making of Batman, it was crazy to find out that initially H.G. Geiger was inspiration for the concept for the Batmobile that looked really gnarly, but I don't think it would have worked because it looked like a giant X. And 2, for me, another favorite scene of mine, just because I barely subtly saw it now that we have 4K resolution. When you initially see Batman walk back into like the Watchtower, that was all like motion capture. It was sick. Loved it.
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the scenes that stood out to me is that in what universe would Alfred bring somebody to the Batcave and be like, you do know that he's Batman, right? That's the only.
You're so fired.
You had one job. One job.
After all the effort he put into to like not let her know when he was, when he was Bruce Wayne, he had to act like he had to, go away on business, whatever, try to come up with a cover up. He brings her to the Batcave, another cover up, just to have Alfred be like, hey, come on in. He's Batman,
The fact that Billy D. Williams is officially, he's been in 2 different comic universes. He was in Batman and in Star Wars, which is phenomenal.
Hey, Colt 45.
Oh, of course, man.
Okay, freaks and geeks, I think this is a wrap for Batman 1989.
I need a Colt 45.
Wow,
man.
just like that, he cut you guys off.
Hey, man.
Do we got to give our scores
I said, hey,
for this?
We got to go like 3 times, and we keep rolling with this still.
Oh, like you never did that to me when I'm trying to wrap it up. So, but wait, there's more.
But wait.
Oh, at that
There's
point,
more.
I just do it to annoy you.
Well, congratulations. Have a dose of your own medicine.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get our scores going for this movie.
Well, for me, it's a 5.
Oh, yeah.
5
5
bat
here.
symbols.
5 out of 5.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It's an
definitely.
obvious 5.
I know we do this on the final, guys, but is there really a gore meter?
No.
Or-
Nah.
Yeah,
How about
this movie
How about
this
this?
had no
We'll change
gore.
it up. We'll change it up. How about a brutality meter?
Oh, like
Oh, yeah.
8.
Never jump.
Someone agreed with you.
Yeah.
Oh, 8 is brutality. That's fantastic.
Well, hey, Batman hitting a guy in a dick with spikes. Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, dropping a bomb at people's feet.
And not caring.
Epic. Fantastic. Throwing someone down that bell tower and you just see him falling down till you can't see him anymore in the darkness. Amazing.
That's true. Toxic.
Literally.
Are you leading us out of this one?
Batman gives no fucks in this movie.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. Not at all.
Wait.
Batman's kills are more brutal than his actual parents being murdered in the alley in the scene.
Damn.
That was hard.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying I'm saying it because in other films they've
Oh,
redone
man.
this. They have redone this scene numerous times And every time they get a little more graphic, a little more heartfelt, a little more deep. And then this one is just kind of like a bam, shoot, and then that was it.
One last question. What are you guys looking forward to seeing in The Flash?
Michael Keaton, Batman.
Michael Keaton, of course.
I want to see Michael Keaton's story as to say, has he just been Batman in this universe for all these years? Is he going to let us in a little bit of like what's been going on? Is he going to bring up the fact that he killed the Joker like we may have gotten in the Flashpoint animated series?
And are we getting the original Batmobile back?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. I mean, you see it in the trailer. Now, I know there was they just released. Scratch that. I just remembered. I already talked about it. Never mind.
Do you guys feel that they may have a hidden, kind of like what Spider-Man did, that they're going to have a hidden cameo with either Christian Bale or maybe even Robert Pattinson, since they're going to like different universes? I mean, just to show that this whole thing.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
End credit scene.
Time will tell.
So I am Toxic J for Corpses for Conversation, along with
SoCal Leatherface,
Dimebag the Clown,
Poison.
Man, it took her long enough. And of course, myself, Richard Somm. We appreciate you guys on this episode of Roundtable Sessions for Batman 89. We will see you guys at the next one.
Oh.
We